Good morning, everyone. Melody just said that Dana put a lot of stress on her, but right now I think it's Melody who put more stress on me. Yeah, but I'll try my best. Okay, so I will first of all talk something about me, and then I will share some teaching techniques that I have used in my class so far, and then I'll talk about action plan and followed by some aha moments in Vancouver. So my name is Gabriel, and I currently work at Donghu Junior High School in Taipei City, and it's my seventh year since I became an English teacher. And before I continue, I would like to share a quote from Benjamin Franklin with all of you. And he said that, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn." And I think the last sentence is the most important. It's very powerful for me because it reminds me that as a teacher in this modern world, we not only teach our students some information or knowledge, we also have to engage our students to be active learners. So it's very important, and it also reflects what Mina just said earlier this morning. And I have learned a lot of techniques from SFU, and I also tried some, and I would like to share first of all, this is called a value line. And as you can see, there is a continuum here from 0% to 100%. And I used this technique when I was teaching my student a Mexican festival called Day of the Dead. So before I guided my students to read the picture book, I distributed some yellow sticky notes to my students, and I had my students write at least one sentence or at least one question before they knew this festival. So some of my students posed a question like, how long does this festival take? And some other students said that, I wonder what people usually wear during this festival. So they put all their questions on their sticky notes, and they put anywhere around this continuum according to their current knowledge about this festival. So as you can see here, this student thought that he or she had little knowledge about this festival because it was his or her first time to hear about this. But some student put his or her sticky notes here because he or she had already known this festival by maybe the movie Coco before. Yeah, so this is a very good way for our teachers to know the starting points of our students. And it's also a good way for the students to know to self-evaluate themselves. And after I taught my student the picture book, I again gave my student their pink sticky notes, and I asked them to write any feedback on their sticky notes, and they post their sticky notes around the continuum again. So it's a very good techniques that I would like to share with you. So this is the first one. And then I also tried some icebreakers that I learned from Jennifer's class. And the first one is one for all, one for some, and one for me. And I had my students write 3 sentences. And in the first sentence, it has to be a sentence for all the people in this group. So for example, like the group in the English teachers, the first sentence, I am a teacher, so that fits everyone in the group. And the second one for some. This sentence doesn't have to fit anyone, you just have to fit some of us. So the second one I put here is I live in Taipei, because some of us do live in Taipei. And the third one is one for me. So this sentence is just for myself. So just like what I put here, I played tennis with my sister last weekend. So maybe this is just for me. So this is a very good example, and I tried this at the very beginning of the semester with my students, and they really like this. And another one is 2 truths and 1 lie. Again, you ask your students to write 3 sentences, and there must be 1 sentence which is a lie about you. So do you want to play with me right now? I put 3 sentences here, but the first one is I learned 3 languages before. And the second one is I have never been to Europe. And the third one is not here, but the third one is I am really good at math. So which one do you think is a lie? The third one? Really? Yeah. So why do you think the third one is a lie? Because
I know math.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not really good at math. But the third one is alike. So it's a very good activity for your student for you to get your student to walk around the classroom, to check with their classmates, to know more about each other. So these two are really good icebreakers for me, and I try this in my classroom. And there are two more. The first one is what's in and what's out. And the second one is called the gossip. But I will talk more details about these two techniques later in my action plan. So the title of my action plan, as you can see here on the screen, is Enhancing Students' Intercultural Awareness, Cultural Integration in English Class. And I have 3 classes in total with about 96 students. And I spent actually more than 4 lessons completing this action plan. As you can see here on the left side, you can see the culture wheel. And when it comes to culture, there are some elements, relevant elements about culture. And one of them is language. So you can see that language and culture are intertwined together, and they cannot be separated from each other. But if we take a look into our current textbooks, we can find that our textbooks put more focus on the 4 language skills. And even if culture is talked about in our textbooks, the amount and the quality are not really good right now. So that's the reason I would like to design an action plan and to enhance my students' cultural awareness. And the desired outcomes here, the students will learn more about their other cultures. And the students will appreciate diverse cultures, and the students will know how to use the target patterns. And there are 4 lessons in my action plan. In the first lesson, I use a movie trailer as learning materials. And in the second one, I used a picture book, which I bought when I was on a trip in Los Angeles after I left SFU. And the third one, the third lesson, I had my student design an altar. Altar in Chinese is 祭坛. Design an altar for someone who passed away. And the fourth lesson, I asked my students to have a group presentation and do some student feedback. So in the first one, since it's the very beginning of my action plan, so I didn't want to put too much stress on my students. So the content focus of this lesson is the basic ideas of the festival, and the language focus is the listening practice. And I used an animation, Coco. Have you ever watched this movie before? It's a very fun movie, and so I use this as a learning material. And after the listening practice, I had my student write some prediction sentences according to this movie trailer. So each group was in charge of a different topic. So for example, topic A was in charge of the food of this festival, and group B may be in charge of the clothing styles, something like this, and they needed to come up with some sentences about this festival before they really learn something from the picture book. So I asked them to do this before I taught them the content of the picture book. So this is the first lesson. And in the second lesson, I just did what I mentioned before, this continuum first, for them to self-evaluate their starting point. And after this, I do another activity called what's in and what's out. And in this activity, I gave my student 24 words or phrases, and I asked my students to discuss in their groups which words might appear in the picture books, and which words might probably not appear. And they had to give me their reasons why or why not. And I think this is a very good activity, and I learned this from Jennifer. And then after this, I just taught my student the picture book. And this picture book was really colorful. I happened to see this when I was in the local market in Los Angeles, and I was really excited to see this. And I brought this back to Taiwan, and it became part of my action plan. So I think that was a very good experience for me. And as you can see here, there are a lot of lovely pictures. So I use these pictures to pose a lot of questions to arouse my students' interest when I was teaching this book. And after I taught my student the book, I asked them to modify their prediction sentences again. So they have the second chance to modify their sentences that they wrote in the previous lesson. So this is the second lesson. And in the third lesson, I put my emphasis on the author. So I taught my student the setup of the authors. There must be a picture of someone who passed away, and there might be some flowers, skulls, skeletons, candles, and pumpkins, something like this. And after this information, I designed a Kahoot exercise for my students to compete with each other as a wrap-up activity. And after the Kahoot exercise, I had my students design their own altar for someone who passed away. And I think this is a very fun activity, and I'm going to show you some of my students' work. So just like this. I gave my students some sentence patterns for them to refer to, and they can check on their phone, they can check their Chinese or history textbooks for further information. So this group, they designed an altar for Yue Fei, and that was Feng Feifei, a very famous Taiwanese singer, and that was Gao Yixiang, who just passed away a few weeks ago. And on the altar, they not only had to design some basic elements, like the paper decorations, they also needed to put something that was special for this person. So Feng Feifei, she really liked to wear hairs when she sang, so they put a hair, where is it? Sorry, not hat and a microphone, microphone and hat. And for Gao Yixiang, he was very good at exercising, so they prepare a basketball and some magazines for him. So they have to combine their life experiences and what they have learned in other subjects into this English class. And because of time limits, we just look. So this is the end of the third lesson. And at the very beginning of the fourth lesson, I introduced an application, very useful application called Flipgrid to my students. And they only need to type the pin code that the teacher gave them, and they can get into the e-classroom. And they can upload their videos on this e-classroom, and we can see each other's work. So I'm going to show you some of my students' work. So maybe we can, this one.
Hello, my dear classmates. We are Yunjin, from Group 5. This is an author for Gao Fei. He was a famous actor and model. He was tall and strong, and he was good at exercising. He passed away in a TV program. Our author, we prepare a basketball because he liked to play basketball and his magazines. This way, we hope he can find a way back to the living world and stay out of the day. Thanks for your attention.
So I just gave them some fixed patterns for them to follow, and they just need to put in some keywords. And maybe one more.
Hello, my dear classmates. We are Jun, Ray,
Yes.
and Mr. Exciting from Group 7. This is an author for Xinjuan Ye, aka Kangxi Emperor. He was the greatest emperor and the longest reigning emperor in Chinese history. Also, he was the first emperor that ruled Taiwan. On the altar, we prepared a lot of encyclopedias, Chinese calligraphy, and bowls of tofu soup because he loved these.
This way. We hope he can find a way back to the living book on depth of the depth. Thanks for your attention.
Okay, so these are two of my students' work, and they really enjoy this activity, and I did too. Time's up. 15 minutes? Okay. Okay, so I'll rush. Okay, so my students' feedback, people in Mexico see that in such a positive attitude, and that's so different from us. I'm so impressed. That's from one of the students. And another student said that each culture has its unique way to see the world, and there's no right or wrong things. We need to show our respect. And my aha moments in Vancouver, first of all, Canada, Vancouver. Vancouver is a very diverse city. People came from very different backgrounds. So that's the reason why people are really open to anything, and they respect each other, especially for their First Nations. And the teachers there, they always share and pass down their own experiences. So they teach us what they know, everything, almost everything they know to us. So we learn really a lot. And the teachers don't really give answers right away. They pose a lot of questions for us to think and to give us some instant feedback according to our responses. And lastly, I love the weather in Vancouver in summer, because in summer it's very humid and hot in Taipei. It's up to 38, 39 degrees centigrade. But in Vancouver, when I was there in July and August, it's 20 something. Or it's below 20, so I really like the weather. Yeah, so I think I would definitely go back to the city, and these are some pictures I would like to share with you. So thank you for your attention.